So there's a chance I might be sleeping throughout the class. If I do, feel free to wake me up. This class is going to be short, but it's going to be productive. How many of you guys did the reading? Great. Anybody else? Alright. Can I get a volunteer? Volunteer. I don't like this guy. Corner over there. Let me know where.
Go ahead.
Oh, you look so happy.
I do not want to.
What's the reading for today? Matthew chapter 10. Verse 28.
Don't be afraid of those who want to kill your body. They cannot touch your soul. Fear only God, who can destroy both soul and body in hell. What is the price of 2 sparrows and 1 copper coin? But not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father knowing it. And the very hairs on your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows. Everyone who acknowledges me publicly here on earth, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But everyone who denies me here on earth, I will also deny before my Father in heaven. Don't imagine that I come to bring peace to earth. I came not to bring peace, but a sword. I have not come to set a man against his father, a daughter against his mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Your enemies will be right in your own household. If you love your father or mother more than you love me, you are not worthy of being mine. Or if you love your son or daughter more than me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you cling to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find it. Anyone who receives you receives me, and anyone who receives me receives the Father who sent me. If you receive a prophet as one who speaks for God, you will be given the same reward as a prophet. And if you receive righteous people because of their righteousness, you will be given a reward like theirs. And if you give even a cup of cold water to one of the least of my followers, you will surely be
Can somebody summarize for us, please? Yes, sir.
So there were like 2 points made. One of the points made was to like don't worry about the pains and struggles that you face with your flesh, like your physical body.
Right.
Like your soul is more important, and health not only is your body also harm, but your soul is also harm. And the second point was love God before anyone else, and also if you publicly admit that you follow Christ then He will testify your name.
Very good. So again, we're looking at the big picture of this particular reading, which is about serving God and making sure we can testify about Him so that He can testify to the Father about us. What's chapter 10 about? Like just in like 1 or 2 sentences. Chapter 10.
Something just happened at all.
That's it, right? So chapter 10, it's like we are ever thinking about a verse of like, where will this, when did Christ select the disciples? We know where to go to? Matthew chapter 10. So that's where it is. So like when you think of Matthew chapter 10, I wish maybe we could do this for another class. Like when you go through the book of Matthew, try to break up like the main points of like Matthew, right? The main breakup. Like the first couple of chapters is setting up for his mission, chapter 5 verses chapter 5 through chapter 7 is like the Sermon on the Mount, and stuff like that. When you break it up like that, and then when you're looking for particular verses, you know which area to look for. Like if you're looking at chapter 2 to look for the crucifixion, you're not gonna find it, right? So you gotta like kind of imagine how the book is set up, and then you can have a better time finding the verses. Very good. So chapter 10 is really about sending the disciples out to the world, and Christ is giving them like advice before they go out and become disciples. So we're reading this chapter in lieu of that. So we are making sure that we understand the background of the story is Christ sending the 12 disciples to the world and letting them know what's going to happen. As we read it, we have to also assume that position, meaning we are the disciples of Christ. So when we go into the world, we've got to also realize the same things that Christ said to them, we're going to also get. This is why this chapter is very important. So when we are reading this chapter, we have to read it in like the frame or the vantage point of saying, I'm a disciple. And all these warnings that he's giving the disciples, he's really giving to me. Because I am a disciple. So everything that he's telling them pertains to us. Makes sense? Why? Because we're disciples. Right? So let's look at the particular reading for today. First point made, don't be afraid of those who want to kill your body. You may be thinking to yourself, the last time I checked, there's nobody trying to kill my body. Right? Here's the thing. There's a literal meaning, which is the killing of the flesh, meaning like martyrdom. We talked about this before. Actually, we've seen this in our lifetime, right? We've been blessed enough, I would say, to see martyrs in our lifetime. And I say blessed because this is a huge opportunity for Christianity to show that it's still alive, to show that the Spirit of the Holy Spirit is still working in us to receive this type of grace. Thank you. Come in. Thanks for closing. Something very important. I felt like I was about to make a point. Martyrdom. So we've seen that. So the first thing that it's saying is, if the opportunity comes for you to like die representing our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ, that's a blessing. Don't be afraid of that. That's what it's saying. And that does happen, but how often is it going to happen? Like, how often are you going to get the opportunity to die as a martyr? Now, as Christians, I hope we all know, martyrdom is a great, blessing, like we said. In fact, if you read, our father's stories back in the day, when people were being martyred, they used to run to that country, or to that area, to be martyred. And then, by the time they got there, all that hot mess was over, and nobody was being martyred anymore, so they would be mad. Only if we came a few days ago, we would have been martyred and we would have been to this opportunity. Sometimes we also think to ourselves, if that opportunity came, I would be a martyr, we say. People say that. I don't know about you, but some people think, martyrdom is and it is, it's for 3 minutes. You confess, and it's very hard for those 3 minutes, but after that, you get the crown of Christ, right? It's amazing. But you have an opportunity to be a martyr every single day in your life. You don't necessarily have to have some form of a weapon on your neck getting ready to kill you. Killing your flesh means I'll say
You say you don't have martyrs every day?
Every day. Because the flesh, right? The flesh is being killed whenever we're put in a situation where it's not beneficial to the flesh. I'm going to give you guys an example. I had no sleep tonight. None. Zero. None, right? It's very easy right now to say, I want to go to sleep, right? Fighting the desire of sleeping is killing your flesh. I'm not saying I'm holy. I'm a horrible example. This is something small. Something big on a big scale would be if we know that we have a lot of things set up on Sunday which attract us, right? We've talked about this before. As young people, the world wants us. This is the best time for the world, for us. When you're young, a lot of times, there's an age limit for a lot of things that we want to do, right? Even to weddings, it says don't bring your kids. Even to weddings. If you want to go and club, nope, you got to be older than 18, right? If you want to drive around, you got to be 16. If you want to watch a movie, you got to be 17 or 14 or whatever type of movie you're watching, right? So whatever you want to do, there's an age limit. But now is the perfect time. When you get really old, again, nobody wants you, right? Like, your body won't allow you, even if you were permitted to do it. Like, at 80 years old, you want to jump off a plane, good luck. You know what I mean? Like, your body just can't do the things that you want to do. So the world doesn't want you when you're old. It doesn't want you when you're young. It wants you right now. But the problem is, not only the world, the church wants you. Your parents want you. Your friends want you. So killing your body means knowing that you have so many places to go, so many responsibilities, so many things to do, but saying to yourself, I will sacrifice whatever I need to sacrifice in order to meet my responsibility to God first. Before my parents, before my friends, before work, before school, before anything, first thing I need to do is make sure I perform my responsibility to God first. That's killing your flesh. Why? Because at this age, we have so many responsibilities. And sometimes that means a little bit less sleep. That's okay. There's a lot of times you're willing to sacrifice a lot of things. But then there's like some circle area that you don't want anybody to touch. Like, some people are okay with giving money. But the minute you ask them to sacrifice sleep, no, don't ask for my sleep. Other people, they're okay, like they can go 20, 48 hours without sleeping, they're okay. When you ask them to give money, no. That's when I draw the line. Right? Or when you ask them to sacrifice something that's like really close to their heart. But if it's for God, that is the definition of killing your flesh. So what God is saying is, don't be afraid of those things that will cause you to kill your flesh. What's more important is God, who has the power to kill your flesh and the soul. What does that mean? God, on the other hand, so here's the thing. This world is visible. We can see it. The consequences are right away. I'm not saying do this, but as an example, let's say you want to go to work, right? And for whatever reason, you don't go to work. Chances are you're going to get in trouble. Keep it up, what's going to happen? The door is tight, shut. Hello. Welcome. So, if you miss work over and over again, what's going to happen? You get fired. You see the consequences. It's there, right? The same thing is true with school. If you don't study for the exam and you keep failing, what's going to happen? You fail class. Wow. I can't.
Yeah.
And you have the class. I don't know how you did that.
You already me too?
That wasn't me. That was he. Okay. So when we're in the world, we see the consequences right away. If you don't pay attention in class in your school, what happens? You fail, right? What happens if you don't go to church on Sunday? Does God say why didn't you come? No. Alright? Maybe you feel guilty about it, but that's about it. What happens if you don't do your daily readings? What happens if you haven't taken the Holy Communion in a very long time? What happens if you don't confess? What happens? Unless you take it upon yourself or you take time to evaluate your spiritual life and see the need for you to start growing spiritually, nothing is going to happen. But just because God is quiet, it doesn't mean He's weak. You see? Just because God is not acting right away, you don't see the visible actions that He does, or you're not aware of it. It doesn't mean God is not weak, or it doesn't mean God is not strong. In fact, God is a lot stronger than whatever the world has to provide. So we should really be fearing God, not what the world has to offer us. And that's your fill in the blank. However, He has more strength than this world. We're often afraid of giving this world an answer. For example, like I said, on a Sunday, if you call in for work, what's the first thing you do? I got work on Sunday, I can't come to church. Right? That's the first thing. Do we think about asking God forget about not coming to church? Do we ask, God, I can't make it to church this Sunday, I'm sorry. Do we ask Him? You know? Okay, we can't make it. It's not okay, but okay. No, I don't care, but okay. But do we take the time to say, God, I can't make it to church this Sunday? Right? What? At work, if we can't make it, if there's something that happens, we call our boss and we say we can't make it this Sunday. Why? Because we're afraid of the consequences. Why are we not afraid of the consequences that come by us not respecting our duties within the church? Right? Who's going to hold us accountable for our spiritual life? Just because God is quiet, it doesn't mean He's not sad with us. He's not disappointed with us. Just because He's quiet, it doesn't mean He doesn't care. He cares a lot. He cares a lot. So it's up to us to say, even if we can't, we should make it every Sunday. But if we can't, if we really, really, really can't, at least let's take the time to say, God, I know what I'm doing today is wrong. I can't make it. I am sorry. Right? We do it for our school. We do it for our work. We do it for other things. We do it with our friends. We do it with our parents. We should be able to do it with God. Let's keep going. This world can only bring harm to our flesh. If we decide to pray for a long time, our comfort is harmed. What I'm saying with this is, it's the same thing that we've been talking about. Killing your flesh means knowing that what you're about to do is not comfortable for your flesh. Like a lot of people, for example, with fasting, people like have complaints, like fasting. Like, what's wrong with fasting? Oh, like, I get really tired. It's kind of the point. You see? The point of fasting is not for us to be like strong and no, it's to weaken our flesh. Right? Going to church really, really early in the morning. Like, oh, I'm too tired. Again, that's kind of the point. To weaken the flesh and strengthen the soul. This is what it means to kill your flesh. To be a martyr means this. This is how we can strengthen our spiritual life. So, and the same thing, like, we're never going to get that real desire to read our Bible unless we push ourselves. So sometimes we gotta push a little bit. It's not comfortable. Like, the Orthodox Home Church is not comfortable for our flesh. It's not made for the flesh. Right? That's why he often says you have to learn how to hate your flesh in order to, like, save your soul. Let's keep going. At the end of the day, unless we stop catering to the needs of our body, we cannot fully strengthen our spiritual life. And that's kind of everything that we've been talking about thus far. We cannot fully strengthen our spiritual life. The body is dead when it loses the source of its life, the soul. Here's the thing, our body or our flesh is nothing but like a garment or a piece of clothing, right? We cannot fully strengthen our spiritual life. We cannot fully strengthen our spiritual life. The body is dead when it loses the source of its life, the soul. I know we used this example before. I'll use it again because I think it's a pretty good example. And I came up with it, and it's always good. Let's say I forget my sweater or my shirt here, right? And you guys see it. And then you say, whose shirt is that? Or what are you going to say? That's David's shirt, right? Do you say, look, it's David's? No. You say, look, it's David's shirt. It's his shirt, right? Where is David? Probably sleeping. Probably. Today he's going to be sleeping after class. Right? Let's say I happen to pass away. This is when you guys are like, no, don't. Right? Let's assume. Oh my goodness. Right on time. Better solid. Let's see the there's not much. Let's say I happen to pass away. Let's start crying like God, nobody cares. Oh yeah, there you go. Party and Bobby. So at the church, when everybody is like winning, right?
Stop.
And then my body comes. You're gonna say, look, everybody, here comes
David's body.
David's body. Are you gonna be like, hey David, what's up? Let's take a selfie. No, you're gonna say there's David's body, right? David's body. Where's David? Somewhere else. Probably sleeping. No, but the body is not who we are. Our true essence is inside of us. This is nothing but like a piece of clothing, right? And this is why we shouldn't have to care so much about our flesh, because our true identity is not in our flesh, but it is our soul. With that concept, when our soul dies, our flesh dies. Like, you can't talk to somebody whose soul is not there. They look exactly the same. If you talk, the eyes are there, the ears are there, everything is there, but he is not there. That's why we can't have a conversation with them. The minute the soul is gone, the body's dead. So the Bible in Genesis tells us that we're created in God's image, and we know that means that we're created in a way to be eternal, to live forever. So what does it mean by the soul can die as well, if it's supposed to be eternal? What's the source of the soul? It is God. It's not necessarily that the soul will stop living. It's just that it would lose the source of its life, which is God. We know that in the New Testament, the Bible tells us God cannot be around sin by the very nature. It's like saying, can the sun be in darkness? Think about that. Can the sun be around darkness? No. No. By the very nature, if there's sun, there's light. It can't be dark when the sun is present. So if we decide to be dark, to live in the dark, what we are doing is, imagine it's like pitch dark outside, like midnight, right? Very, very, very dark. And then the only light that we have in this whole city is in this room. If I leave the room, what's going to happen? It's going to be dark. I decided to leave the room. God didn't. I decided to leave the room. Suddenly, it's dark. And the further away I get, the darker it gets. The further away we walk from God, the source of our life, we're walking the path of darkness, the path of wickedness, the path of death. So that's what it means. We lose the source of our life. Therefore, and it is God who gives us the source of life. So we need to fear God, the one who has the ability to give us the source of life for our soul, which gives us the source for our body, for our flesh. But most of the time we cater to the needs of the flesh and forget about the master who gives us the source of our soul. You see how that works? You see how that works? It's very important stuff. Let's keep going. Fearing God, what does that mean? So yes, He is the source of our soul, so we need to fear Him. But what does it mean to fear Him? Fearing Him means to recognize His power. God is almighty. God is El Shaddai. God is all-powerful. God is omnipotent. God is omniscient. We're dealing with a God that is too large for our heads to understand. But this is the problem. Many, especially when we start counting years that we've spent in the church, I've been here 2, 3, 4 years or whatever, what starts to happen is repetition. Right? Repetition occurs. Sunday you come in, you do Kadasi, you go to Hallelujah, and then you come, and then if you come to class, you read your Bible, you go to sleep, you wake up, you do the same thing over and over. Right? Suddenly, you think to yourself, what's new? Been there, done that. Been there, done that. And then you start to count your years. I've been there 3, 4 years, and no, you don't understand. I've been there 10 years, and I've been doing this, whatever. I don't care if it's service, I don't care if it's church, I don't care if it's class. You just start counting the years. Some people even start counting weeks. I've done this for 8 weeks in a row, 10 weeks in a row. And then you get bored. Right? And then it's You just sit there and you take it in and okay, like what's next, right? This is how yeah, it's mazag.
It's rusting.
It's rusting. So our spiritual life is rusting. And because it's rusting, the same thing as it happens in metal, like it doesn't function properly, our soul stops functioning properly. It is different from a direct impact. Like a direct impact breaks a material, right? Like if I hit this really, really hard, I'm either going to bend it or I'm going to break it. Chances are it's going to break me, but I'm saying with something else, right? It's either going to break or it's going to bend. Rusting takes time. And it's something that you don't recognize right away. This is why our spiritual fathers always tell us, take a step back to evaluate your spiritual life. Are you the same as you were last year? Are you less? Are you more? Are you stronger in your spiritual life? Are you weaker? Where are you headed? You see? This is important to understand because that's how you can recognize if your spiritual life is beginning to rust. When it begins to rust, everything's boring. And you can stand there and hear the best verse in the Bible. You can hear the best sermon in the world. You can do like the best form of liturgy that you can think of. It doesn't matter what it is. You just stand there and you're just saying the words. The waiting, like, okay, what's next? What's next? That's a most dangerous place to be in. Because you're autopilot. You're not driving anymore. You're not in control anymore. And in the minute you have your guards down, you know what can happen. You can crash. So fearing God means understanding how big He is. We don't finish learning about Him. We don't finish studying Him. We don't finish worshiping Him. Why? Because He's big. He's huge. So again, we need to push ourselves spiritually. Like, look at yourself now and ask yourself what you can do to grow in your spiritual life. If you're okay, that's bad. If you're comfortable, that's bad. Like, if you're doing 10 minutes every day and you're comfortable, maybe you need to do a little bit more prayer. Or change the type of prayer that you're doing. Right? If you're reading the Bible just like 1 or 2 verses and you're comfortable with that, push it to chapter. Why not? Right? If you're just beginning to fast and you're just fasting like avizo, add firsat on top of it. Right? Add a couple of days on top of it. See what happens. You've got to challenge your spiritual life in order to grow. It's just like working your muscles. If you're not stepping up the plates, then you're not going nowhere. And you got to feel the burn every time you go in. So, fearing God means to recognize His power. Fearing God means to recognize His power. Do not get bored of God. God is always new. Okay, let's go to the next point. Not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father knowing it. You guys know what a sparrow is? It's a bird. It's not a bird. Very common bird. You know the thing with this type of bird? It's small. Very, very small. And the thing is, they fly around, whatever, but they can be easily distracted. They're like, wow, wow. And they just like, you know, like, they just kind of go away. They like to be as a group together, they're united. So most of them are small, and they fly. So here's what Christ is saying about this specific verse. When He's saying, not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father knowing it, this is what He's really saying. Because there's so many birds, sparrows, their value is very small. It's not like a rare bird that nobody can find. They're everywhere. Right? They're everywhere. But He's saying, not a single one could drop without the Father doing it. Meaning, we're more valuable than a bird. I hope so. Because He didn't come to this world to die for birds. He came to this world to die for us. So even if like He's worried about like the birds that nobody cares about, how much do you think He cares about us? If He was willing to come here and die for us. First thing you need to understand. Other thing, The sparrows are birds and thus are created to fly in the sky. Their nature, by the very nature, because they are birds, they're intended to fly on the sky, like around the sky, right? So if they're falling, that means they're going against nature. And God knows that. The same way the sparrow symbolizes us because we are meant to fly in the sky. Meaning, our home is in the kingdom of heaven. Naturally, when we were created to live in the kingdom of heaven. That paradise belongs to us. We lost it because of our sin. Whenever we are distracted, we start to fall to the ground. Whenever we are distracted by the sin and everything that is around us, we start to fall to the ground. Our main focus should be on why we were created. Naturally, we were created to fly in the sky, to be in the kingdom of heaven. Notice how Christ says, the sparrow does not fall without our Father knowing it. Knowing it is different from causing it. God never says He causes the sparrows to fall. He says He knows that they fall. What's the difference? Knowing means allowing us to exercise our free choice. God is never going to force you to do anything. He wants you to come to Him, but you have to make the effort to say, God, I want to leave this world. I want to leave this place. Now, you have to make that judgment and say, I don't know how to do it. You can say, there's a difference between saying, I want to stop sinning this specific sin. Right? Whatever sin that we're struggling with at this time or any other time, you can make a conscious decision to say, I want to stop this sin. I don't know how to. God help me out. That's all He needs. That's all He needs for God to say, come my child. Come fly in the kingdom of heaven. But if we don't make that decision and we say, this is the sin that I'm living with, I'm not willing to give it up, I'm going to continue to do it, and God is going to love me anyway, that's different. You're falling. You exercise your judgment, instead you're going to fall. You're not expected to be perfect, but you are expected to strive to be perfect and to live for God to pick you up. He says, every hair on our head is numbered. The head symbolizes a teacher. The hair symbolizes the teacher's student. I'm going to explain what that means. The head symbolizes the teacher. The hairs symbolize the teacher's students. Just like our hair is cut once it grows, once the students learn from their teacher, they are cut off from their teacher so that they can go and teach the world. Hallelujah. Wow. Here's what I'm trying to say with that. I want to really, we ain't gonna talk about that. So this is what I mean. Like our hair, my hair is not a good example, but like this guy's hair, alright? I got like 35 left. This guy got a lot of hair. Now, hopefully soon, like tonight, maybe, I'm gonna cut your hair. Okay? Long overdue. So, let's say you cut your hair, right? What's gonna happen to your hair?
You get shorter.
What? I meant afterwards. I was not ready for that.
I mean, that's what I do. It's the same style, just get shorter.
Okay, you cut your hair, it gets shorter, and then what?
The hair falls.
Oh, that was a good one. That is a good
Falls on the
one.
Stop encouraging this. Stop encouraging this.
That was good.
Stop encouraging
It was
this.
up in the sky.
And then what? Eventually, in like a couple of years,
It goes back.
it goes back. That's all I needed. I really did. I promise that's all I needed. Now here is the thing. What this means is, the hair symbolizes whom? What you said? Students. The head symbolizes whom? Teachers. Here's the thing. The hair, once it reaches a certain step, not that much, but regular size, you cut it off. Bang, right? It's gone. Separated from the head. And then the hair starts to grow again, and then you cut it off. This means the student stays with the teacher for X amount of time. Right? We're not going to put a time limit on it, but he stays there. Once the student is up to a certain stage, he's cut off from the teacher, meaning he's ready to go and serve the world. Then when he serves the world, the teacher goes and gets new students. You see? This is symbolism. He gives the students, he teaches them, and then the students, after a certain period of time, they go and then they teach the world. Now here's the thing that I want you guys to think about this. Like, you're not here just to be here. Please. Like, you're here tomorrow, you don't know what you're going to do. Teaching, we say this all the time in this class. Teaching doesn't necessarily mean teaching like giving a sermon and stuff like that. It can be, it doesn't have to be. Your calling for everybody else is different. Like for every single person, you guys have a gift that God has given you. You've got to start thinking about what is your next service, right? It's not limited to a classroom. You have a lot of service to provide for the church, for God, to serve God. You have a lot of gifts that He's given you. But this is your time to learn. Right now, this is your time to learn. There will be a time where you have to share what you have learned. You see? Even when you guys have kids, like tomorrow, like whatever, like your kids are going to come up to you, they're going to ask you questions. What answers are you going to give them if you have nothing to give? This is the right time to learn as much as you can. As much as you can. And then there's going to be a time where we're going to give back to the world. Does that make sense? And then we will get new students and new teachers and new students and new teachers, and this is how we grow. So even when you're learning, you should be learning with a purpose of doing something. I mean, maybe you don't have a clear idea of how you're supposed to be serving God, and that's okay. But it is time to start thinking about what is it that God wants me to do, and how can I start applying what I'm learning in this service that I'm going to be serving God in. This is how we should be thinking about our classes. This is also why it is imperative we take classes seriously. I can't say that enough. It is important that we take classes seriously. We don't know when the next opportunity is going to come for us to sit down and learn about the Word of God. Right? Everything is given to us. It's up to us to work for it and to gain as much as we can because of, it's important. So again, he says all the number of your hairs is counted, and he knows like when a sparrow falls to the ground. I'm more valuable than hair. I know that for a fact. A sparrow is debatable. On the day that I'm having hair, definitely. I'm more valuable than hair. So if God is counting the number of hairs I have on my head, 35 approximately, don't you think that He cares a lot about me and what's happening, and a lot about you and what's happening in your life? So whenever you go through hardship, know that God got your back. Isn't that amazing to say? Like, God got my back. He created the world. He created like this entire world from nothing. This big Alpha Omega God, Creator, got my back. So we should be walking around with nothing to fear. We got nothing to fear. Why? Because God got our back. Let's keep going. Everyone who acknowledges me publicly here on earth, I will also acknowledge him before my Father in heaven. To acknowledge Christ publicly means to confess with our mouth that Christ is Lord. It's not enough to believe it, you have to confess it. It's not enough to believe it, you have to confess it. Our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ, is Lord. In this day and age, it is embarrassing to be a Christian. True or false? It's very true. Very true. So we've got to we got to be confident in our answer. It doesn't matter how embarrassing it may be. Sometimes when we are around friends, conversations stir, right? Especially if we're around people who, are not churchgoers or whatever. Conversations kind of tend to go in a negative direction, right? And we don't want to be seen as, I was talking about it the other day, we don't want to be seen as a kabde, chill, relax. No problem, And then people make jokes about God and stuff like that, and we're like, confess. This is not funny, when it comes to your religion, jokes are jokes, and it's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh, but even God in the book of Psalms says he looks at this world and laughs. Even God laughs. But there's a limit to everything. The minute they start to challenge, like, you know, I know I'm going off topic, but some of these TV shows, right? They make fun of God and stuff, like Family Guy. And then I was having a debate with this kid, and he said, like, you're over exaggerating this. And I was like, am I? And he was like, yeah, like it's just a joke, like just laugh, like it's just a joke. I was like, okay, can I talk about your mom the same way they talked about God? And he was like, hey, chill, man, that's not funny. I was like, exactly. And if somebody was talking about like our mom, like in a group, right? Would you be like, yeah, sure. You know? Or would you say, no, that's not funny. I don't care if it's your boss. I don't care if it's your friends. I don't care who it is. Don't we stand up and say, no, like, stop. You're not going to talk about my mom like that. Why is it okay when it's about God? I don't care the circumstance. You know? But this is what it means to confess with our mouth. It doesn't matter how like uncomfortable we may feel. But if we know that this is the right thing to do, we have to do it. We have to say it. We have to confess it. It's not enough just to be like, my God knows my heart. Of course He knows your heart. Don't tell Him that. He knows that He knows your heart. Don't tell Him you know my heart. Confess it with your mouth. Confess it with your mouth. Confess with your actions. Confess with your actions. We talked about this before. A true Christian is someone who is able to preach to the world without saying a single word. I think it was Father Anthony who said. I knew you were going to look up. I was waiting for it. She was like, what? He said, if your like neighbor was deaf, or you couldn't hear anything, just by looking at your behavior, would he be able to know that you're a Christian? You see?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, like, you would?
I remember
Just like, I don't see it. Oh, really? I thought you were saying, like, yeah, my neighbor knows. I'm like, sorry, who's that? We put in situations where, especially within the Ethiopian community, lying is like, you know, like, people lie left and right. Yes? Part of that lie. Lying is okay, like in Ethiopia, it doesn't matter. You know, like, it could be something small. Like going to somebody's house, right? Like they're in their room, their house, and maybe it's an hour away, and they get a phone call. Where are you at? I'm stuck out of traffic like 10 minutes away, you know? It's a regular, minimum, like it's okay like that. But as Christians, how are we modeling our spiritual life? The saddest thing is our actions and our behaviors. Now I'm talking to like Ethiopians, just the Ethiopian culture, who claim that orthodoxy is part of our culture. It's very like morally weak when compared to the Western philosophy, like Western morality, and when it comes to like lying and telling the truth, right? Because like the petty stuff, I'm talking about the small things, like just lying just for no reason, is normal to us, to our culture. How does that look as Christians when we're like saying, oh, we are proud of it, like Ethiopians are Orthodox and we're Christians, but yet our morals is very, very weak, especially when it comes to the area of lying. We may be put in situations where we have to cover up a lie for somebody else and we feel pressured to do so. Where like somebody starts to lie and we don't want to like jeopardize that person, you know? Like somebody we like or something, so we're like, yeah, he told me this even though he didn't, or you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not just talking to myself. At the end of the day, there's nobody bigger than God. I don't care how close the friend is, I don't care how close we are with that person, there's nobody in this world bigger than God. This is what it means to confess with our actions. Nope. This is wrong. Challenging those higher than us, whether it's our parents, whether it's a priest, whatever it is, right? Whether it's our friends, when they do something, what you're doing is wrong. Confess it. Confess it. I have to say, don't forget about our lesson from last week. Wise as, shrewd as, and then harmless as a dove. Don't forget that lesson. So you don't want to be like the police, moral police, saying, nope, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. That's not what I'm talking about. But when there's some certain things, obviously, that we just goes against Christianity. Obvious things. And we don't want to say anything like, what are they going to think of us or whatever, or we're put in a situation where we also have to participate in that thing. You know what I'm talking about? At that moment, no. That's not what happened. The truth is this. Confess your Christian duties. Confess. I've been put in a situation a few times, I'm not going to say names, where I was expected to lie for someone. I didn't, and that person thanked me afterwards. Thanked me. Said, you taught me a lot about Christianity. A lot. So, even if you're a friend or whatever, at the moment they may be mad, at the end of the day they're going to thank you. If they're true friends, at the end of the day they're going to thank you. I also know a friend who was who was in a car with someone, I'm not going to say names again, and then they were speeding, so they got pulled over. And then they said, I didn't know how fast I was going, and the friend was like, nope, he did.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. He was like, I'm not going to lie for you, God is bigger than you, and he gave him the same speech I'm giving you guys now. I wasn't the one driving, and I was not the friend, but this really happened. So, this is maybe an extreme case or whatnot, but at the end of the day, we've got to we're always put in situations where, it's hard and whatever, but we've got to remember who we worship. Be afraid of God, not our friends. I think I saw a couple of questions. Did you raise your hand earlier? Okay, yes.
So I get confused when you say confess with your mouth, and so you speak on your religion explicitly to people. I get that confused with the idea of boasting about how religious you are and how holy you are and making it exposed to the public, and then
right.
They get that image oh, she's religious. It seems like you're feeding into the people's perception of what you look like instead of being private and humble about it. I kind of get that confused. I do this, I do. It makes it seem as, again, it gets me confused.
Right.
I get I don't know, boasting or
No, so boasting means, people are like, hey, well, how was your weekend? I went to church, and did you? No, you didn't. I'm holy, you're not. That's kind of boasting, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But if somebody is saying how certain jobs you gotta clock in and stuff like that, and people are like, can you clock me in? No, I won't. Man, I thought we were cool. No, I will not. Why not? I'm a Christian. Now they're asking you. They're asking you. So you're not saying, or if other people are clocking in, whatever, you don't necessarily have to tell them it's wrong. They know it's wrong, right? You usually, and then again, Father Anthony gave a great sermon about when to speak up or when not to. You speak up when there's a new information you give them. They know what they're doing is wrong. That's why they're hiding and doing it. It's not like they don't know about it. So telling them, hey, this is wrong, is just creating animosity. But if they're like, can you clock me in? No, I cannot. You're confessing. You're confessing. And then if they say, why not? I'm a Christian. Again, you're confessing. You're not boasting, you're not acting like you're better than everybody else. You're confessing. So that's the big difference. That we want to play the other person so much. We want to be the moral, leader. We're not. We're sinners just like the next guy, right? The point is not to be righteous or whatever. The point is to say this is wrong, this is right when it comes to us and we're involved. That's what it means to be righteous. Other questions? This is the hardest thing for Christians. The hardest. Living up to what the gospel says. And it's easy to say the first step is easy. Christ is Lord, right? Christ is Lord. We just did. To confess with our actions, that's a different thing. That's very hard. That's very hard. Confess is one true nature to the world. Again, Orthodox does not change. Our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ, his divine nature was united with the human nature. He took natural flesh and natural soul from the Virgin Mary and united his divine nature and his human nature into one. From two natures became one single nature. We have to confess this. We do not compromise this in order to get along with other denominations. We don't change our doctrine or teachings or dogma. We have to keep it as it is, and we confess this to the world. You see, we don't hide who we are in order to get along with other people. Yeah.
The two natures coming together, uniting as one. Is that what Tawahidim?
Yes. Tawahidim means exactly that. Two natures uniting into one. And I bring this up. Maybe this is a lot further than what this course may need. But as most of us are YOTC. When we want to work with others, financing. If we want to get grants, there's certain grants which are limited specifically to other denominations. We can't say we believe in that just to get money, can we? No, we're confessing something else. And there may be other circumstances where we may have to feel to get along with other people, we have to kind of, mold the teachings of Orthodoxy. We cannot do that. We cannot do that. Let's keep going. Confess to a priest that we are sinners. This is also important. When we talk about confessing, yes, one of the things that we have to confess is our sins. As we know, in the Orthodox Order Church, we come and we confess our sins to whom? No, to God. But we confess to God through the priest. Why do we do this?
To free ourselves from sin.
Yeah, but the simple answer is because Christ told us. He's the one who said do it, right? When we're confessing and practice, we're confessing that the teachings of Christ is true and we believe in it. Do you see that? Whenever we deny the sacraments that the church provides, confession, Holy Communion, baptism, and all the other sacraments, the 7 sacraments that the church provides, whenever we are rejecting that, who are we really rejecting? Christ. It's Christ that said that. Now, this is not a class about 7 sacraments. I'm not going to show you guys the verse and walk you through every single sacrament and how Christ said that. But Christ is the one who instituted these sacraments, and He's the one who taught us to do it. So whenever we reject this, we are rejecting Christ. Whenever we are participating in these sacraments, we're confessing that His teachings are indeed true and we believe in it. Let's keep going. Don't imagine I came to bring peace to the earth. There's good peace and bad peace in this world. Did you guys know that? Good peace and bad peace. Everybody's like, wow. There's good peace and bad peace. You believe that? You believe it? What's peace?
Salam.
Getting along. Salam. This is my mom's saying. Getting along. Right? Getting along. That's what it means. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a story about the good peace. There's 2 monks. And they're talking. And then one of the monk, he doesn't know an argument. Clearly he hasn't lived with me. I would have taught him like that. So he said, he didn't know what an argument was. So the monk is trying to teach him what an argument looks like. So he was carrying a notebook. He took his notebook. And he said, this is mine. And then the other monk was like, it's mine. He's trying to teach him an argument. And he was like, no, it's mine. He said, okay, it's yours. He doesn't know how to argue. He's at peace with everybody. You see? Peace means to be in agreement. Just to agree. A lot of times we have like conflict and stuff like that because we can't agree on things. Very true. Somebody can give up and say, you know what? Our love, our unity, our agreement is more important than us just disputing this small thing. We always have peace and unity, the good peace. The good peace. That make sense? The bad peace is agreeing to do evil. Book of Proverbs talks about this. Like, they conspire, it says, the wicked, to do harm. People plan out doing harm. People plan, let us get drunk today. Okay, high five, high five, high five. Let's destroy our body today. Right? High five, high five. They're agreeing to destroy the flesh. They're not judging. But that's what's happening. Let us do harm. Let us smoke. Okay, I'll get the weed. I'll get this, I'll get that. I'll roll it. And I'll smoke it. They're agreeing to do what? Say, bad peace. Bad peace. People agree to deny God. There are groups now that are openly atheists. Before, an atheist was just somebody who didn't want the church, they didn't believe in the church and they didn't believe in God. Today, the new Christians, the new atheists are attacking the church. They come and they have sermons. Do you guys know that?
Yeah. What?
Yeah. They have a congregation, not all of them, but
not believing?
about not believing and how what's wrong with the church and stuff like that. And they come and they do because they said a lot of Christians, why they're Christians is just for the community aspect, and they're we need our own community. So they come about and then they make fun of the Bible and talk about why they don't believe in God, and they separate. They are agreeing, they're in peace, they're in harmony about rejecting God. You see? Christ is saying, as he said, a very powerful thing. Don't imagine that I come to bring peace to the earth. When you read this verse, again, remember the topic of the course.
Content.
Yeah. The goal of the course. The goal of the course is to help us understand that the verses have deeper meaning behind it. When you guys read this, I know when I read it the first time, I was like, Christ didn't come for peace. I was fooled all along, right? No, he didn't come for bad peace. So if there's unity amongst everyone to do harm, he came to divide that, to mess that up. And going back to confessing, if we're in the midst of people agreeing to do sin, we have to object. Right? We have to break that up. We have to stop the peace, the harmony, and make sure that we voice our opinion and say, no, this is wrong. We have to object to it. Bad peace, to be in harmony. So when he's saying, I didn't come here to give you peace, he's talking about the bad peace. Peace comes from being in agreement with one another. Peace comes from being in agreement with one another. Let's keep going. Again, good peace comes from everyone agreeing to love one another, unite in faith, strive to do good, etc. Bad peace comes from everyone agreeing to do evil, sin against the Lord, participate in sinful nature, etc. Christ did not come for bad peace. We should not comply with bad peace. We have to be able to openly object to this. His word, it says, is a sword because it separates the wicked from the righteous. It separates the wicked from the righteous. Once we accept his word, there is no way we can walk in the path of wickedness. Two people will hear the word of Christ, and one may say, I want to follow Christ, and one may say, I don't want to follow him. Are they not separated? Are they not separated? Is that not a sword? Is that not a sword? His word is a sword because it separates the wicked from the righteous. In Genesis chapter 12, in the story of Abraham, when he was living with his father, was he not separated from his family? When he was told to go into the promised land? Abraham seeked God, he found him, and then he was able to be separated from his family. We good? Okay. This is a good piece. We agree. Good piece. This is a bad piece. Bad. So, again, as Christians, be prepared to be the odd man out. As a woman out. Be prepared. Be prepared, right? Because sometimes in our family, people may look at us like we're crazy, like what is this guy doing? Like how could he be praying and stuff like that? We are being separated from our family. I'm not saying just hate your family and ignore them and do whatever. No, love your family. God always told us to love. But understand, there's nobody bigger than God. And sometimes, like, we want to come closer to God, but there are like family members or friends or whatever who want to kind of hold us back. That, from experience, that kind of initial temptation to resist is only there in the beginning. Once you kind of keep going and show them that you're not that weird after all, you're actually a great guy to know, your friends, your true friends will stay, your family will support you. And actually, you can be the cause for everybody to come to church. Every family is different. But that will happen. I've come to set a man against his father. What does that mean? This always got to me. I've come to set a man against his father. Can you imagine? Like, you know who's saying this? Christ. Like, this is huge. Christ is saying, I have come to set a man against his father. The same Christ that we know to be like loving, peaceful. You know, like, whenever you think of him, like Jesus Christ, you think of like, you know, like, come to me, child. Right? That's how you think of him. He's like, no, I've come to set a man from his father. Right? Why is he saying this? Why is he saying this to the disciples? Again, let's understand what this verse is actually saying. Prior to Christ coming to this world, man had chosen the devil to be his father. As we know, the minute Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, what they did is, they said, we no longer want to be the child or the slaves of God, but we want to be, are you guys with me? We don't want God as our king, we want the devil to be our king. So the devil, like in the Ethiopian calendar, when you count, you say, today, right now is right? The year of forgiveness. Right? That's translation. Like when you count, you say like instead of saying BC, we say like back before zero there was like meaning prior to Christ coming in this world, the king was the devil. The devil was the king of this world. This is huge stuff. So when Christ is saying, number one, he came to separate man from his father, he's talking about the devil, because at the time, the devil was the father. Make sense? At the time, the devil was the father of the world. Let's keep going. Number two, man had fallen to the desires of his flesh. They ate the forbidden fruit because of the desire of the flesh. What he's saying now is, he is restoring our flesh so that we no longer have to be tempted by the flesh if we follow the path of righteousness. When we are baptized, we're taking our sinful nature and we are crucifying it on the cross. You guys know this, right? Like, when we're baptized, or we're submerged into the water, we're actually participating in the crucifixion of Christ. And what we're doing is, we're taking our sinful nature and we're crucifying it to the cross. And when we're coming back up, we're being resurrected to share the resurrection of Christ. To say that we're coming back up again. And we're born again as a child of Christ. Okay? That's the teaching of baptism. Very, like, Spark Notes version, because, you know, this is not a class for baptism. Now, within that baptism, That desire of the flesh was crucified on the cross, meaning it is dead. We were separated from that sinful nature. This is why we as Christians today sin, like we're dead to the world. Like the world or our sinful nature, we're separated from that. We think of a different world. We think for our soul. We're separated from that. Let's keep going. The love that we have for our parents or others should not compare to the love that we have for God. This is fair. No, let's keep going. The love that we have for God should not compare to the love that we have for others. If we often compromise the love of God for others, we're denying Christ. Again, in our personal relationships, I mean, we've said this over and over again, there's a lot of people we can love. God is like, God himself is love. He doesn't have love. He himself is love. But nothing should be able to compare to the love that we have for God. Right? In fact, so much so that he says, if you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you are not worthy of being mine. I'm going to explain what that means. In the Old Testament, you guys know, the cross was used to do what? Crucify people. Just people or what?
Yes.
Like, not just criminals. The worst of worst. Like, these were at the bottom of the list. You know, like these were like in this day and age, they would get coverage like 24/7. They must have like killed 35 people or something like that. You know what I mean? Like some crazy wild people. They would have been crucified on the cross. When Christ was crucified on the cross, what he was saying is, I'm going to take on the sin of the world. And even though he didn't have any sin, he became a sinner for our sake. You see? The one who didn't sin became a sinner for our sake. So he was crucified on the cross without any sin, took out the sin of the world on himself, and died for us. And died the death that we deserve, that the world deserved. Makes sense? Now here's the thing. That cross in the New Testament symbolizes hardship. Crucifixion, right, came from the word cross. They were being crucified on. He's saying, in order to get to the kingdom of heaven, there's a lot of crucifixion that you're going to go through. Meaning, this world will crucify you. This world. There's going to be a lot of hardship. Why? Because our flesh was not made for this world. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. He told us. Again, going back to, like, waking up early in the morning to go to church is hard. We know this. We know this. Our flesh is not made for this. Fasting makes me hungry. Like, we know this. That's why we fast. It's because it makes us hungry. This world was not created for us. Like, not fornicating. It's hard. We know this. Our body's not made for this. Right? But we're asked to do these things because that is the path of righteousness. Now he's saying, if you don't do this, you're not worthy to be my follower. Like, you're not worthy. Why is Christ being so harsh here? I feel like there's a lot of time where Christ is like forgiving and it's like, oh, you haven't done it, it's okay. You know, like I feel, you ever like do some sin and you're like, Christ will forgive me and stuff like that. And then when I'm reading this, I'm getting a different type of Christ. You guys know what I'm talking about? Why is he being like this strict? Because it's important to understand what the cross means to him. To him, the cross means something that he got crucified on. God the Father sent his only begotten Son to this world so that his Son can die for us. And then through his death we can believe in him and have life. John 3:16, right? So when he died, he lost his kingdom. Meaning he left his kingdom and came to nothing. He had everything, he came to nothing. He was honored and he became dishonored. He was big and became small. Right? God. And he died for us, and we are like sinners. We reject him all the time. We never accept him. Like we are horrible servants. Like horrible servants. Knowing this, he still died for us. And by his death, he gained nothing. He gained nothing. Us, on the other hand, Like, we're going from nothing to everything. We, like, through this crucifixion of this world that's going to provide us, at the end is going to wait Christ with his open arms. The King of all kings is waiting for us. Paradise is waiting for us. And he's saying, look, I came for you and I got nothing. If you can't come for me to get everything, then what's the point? You see? I came here and I got nothing. Now you need to come to me if you want everything. He already died for us. He already paved the way. He's saying, just follow. Just follow. Is that not fair? That's fair. No wonder why he's being very harsh. It's because he's saying, I know you're going to keep sinning. I know you're going to be doing a lot of faults, but all you got to do is just follow me. At least come towards me. You're going to fall 10 times, I know. You're going to fall 100 times, I know. You're going to fall 1,000 times, I know. Keep following me. Because at the end, there's paradise. If you don't want to follow me, you don't want the paradise, then what's the point? But we've got to go through that hardship first. You know, that like prayer and that fasting, all that stuff that's really, really hard, coming to class, coming to church, like even though it's out of our way, even though it is difficult, these things are expected of us. This is what it means by following Christ as a crucifixion. It is not like it's very hard on our flesh. We know this stuff. It is supposed to be hard. The next time you think about like, I am tired to pray, or I am tired to go to church, or I am tired to fast, I am tired to read the Bible, understand that is the definition of crucifixion. That word. It was rhymed. Let's keep going. How are we doing with time? Okay, yeah, pick it up a little bit. If you cling to your life, you lose it. Here's the thing. God is our GPS, right? God is our GPS. If we want to get to the kingdom of heaven, we got to turn it on. Listen. He knows more about your life than you do. Understand that. Because he knows more about your life than you do, you cannot guide your own, like, and maybe, for example, let's say you got your own car you're driving, right? If you don't know the area, just because it's your car, it doesn't mean you don't need directions to get to where you're going. The same way, our own flesh in the way that we want to like guide it. We got to listen to God and say, God, guide me, help me. But if we're just going to be stubborn enough to rely on our own understanding about how our spiritual life is supposed to work, then we're going to be lost. God is our GPS who can guide us directly to the kingdom of heaven. If we attempt to turn off the GPS, we will be lost and we will not be able to find our way to the kingdom of heaven. Anyone who receives me, anyone who receives you, receives me. Anyone who receives you, receives me. The disciples are not there to teach their own philosophy and teaching, but that of Christ. The church is echoing Christ. The church is echoing Christ. Let me give you guys an example. Imagine you're sick. Wow, I'm sick. Then, like, the doctor comes, he examines you, right? And then he's like, you need like medicine. So then the pharmacist, you go to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist gives you what kind of the medicine? The same medicine that who prescribed? The doctor. He can't give you like a new medicine. He can't do that, right? If you say, pharmacist, no, I don't want to accept the medicine. Whose order are you rejecting? The pharmacist or the doctor? The doctor. When the disciples are coming and they're giving you medicine, which is the word of God, and the doctor is Christ, and pharmacists are somebody there giving you the medicine that the doctor ordered. If you say, I don't want this medicine, you're not rejecting the pharmacist, you're rejecting the doctor. In this case, you're rejecting Christ. You're rejecting God. This is what the disciples are doing. The disciples are here giving us and teaching us the medicine that the church has to provide for us. The 7 sacraments is our medicine. This is how we live for our spiritual life. They're here teaching us the teachings that Christ taught them. The minute we start rejecting them, we are rejecting Christ himself. The true doctor examined us and found a cancer-like disease called sin. And that's the thing. We're trying to get rid of the sickness that we call sin, and this sin, we get rid of it by making sure that we take the medicine that the church has to provide. We can get this medicine by listening to the teachings of the disciples. Alright, we're gonna pick it up. It's not just that. This is the same thing when it comes to saints, angels, and the Virgin Mary, right? It talks about giving cold water in their name, right? I'm gonna come back to this. I'm gonna come back to this. So angels, saints, and the Virgin Mary, the same thing. When we are rejecting them, we are rejecting whom? Christ. And I'm going to show you why. Very simple. Honoring them is honoring God. That's the fill in the blank. Honoring them is honoring God. Saints, like Tekla Haymanos, which is what we celebrated today. I had to do that. Saints live their life in a way that pleased God. So we remember them because they have been a good example for us. All the saints of the church are called saints primarily because they were good Christians, good role models. We look to them for guidance, how we're supposed to live our life. They actually lived what the gospel, how the gospel told us to live. They lived the life that the gospel was teaching about. So we look at their life to see, how did they do it? You know, all these saints, how is he that strong? So that we read their story to get encouragement and to understand, wow, they got this type of honor because they lived that life. They're an example to us. So we accept the saints. If we are rejecting the saints, who are we rejecting? Christ himself. Christ is the one who honored them, right? Christ is the one who honored them. Same example. If I am a teacher and I say, okay, listen to me today, I'm putting this guy, what's your name again? David, okay. So, let's say this guy, he's very new. And now I say, you're the teacher today, right? And I leave. If all of you guys say, we're not going to listen to you, who are you disrespecting? Him or me? That's not like a trick question.
Yeah, because you're disrespecting them at the same time.
Well, we don't care about him though. So it is, right? Yes, you're disrespecting him, but the important thing is, you're disrespecting me too. As a teacher, if you guys really respect my authority as a teacher, then you got to listen when I say he's the teacher today. Right? If you say, no, he's not, then you're actually questioning my ability to choose him as a teacher. You're questioning me. The same thing. If Christ is saying they're honored, they're honored. Who are we to say that they are not honored? It is God who honored them, therefore they will remain to be honored. Angels. Angels were created to serve God. And they serve God by coming to this world and protecting us. They protect us. So if they're protecting us, shouldn't we say thank you? This is very obvious things. We can find verses and show the specific Bible verses where it says in Revelation chapter 3 verse 8 how they ascend the prayers to heaven. Right? All this stuff. We could talk about this. But it's not the verses that we need. We just need to understand how simple it is. It's not really an argument. If the angels are there to protect us, shouldn't we say thank you for protecting us? Yes, it's very obvious stuff. You say thank you to your friends. You say thank you to your parents. You say thank you to just about everybody. Right? Thank you for the angels. Thank you, St. Michael, for protecting. Thank you, St. Gabriel, for protecting. Right? The Virgin Mary. Very simple. If our Father said she is his mother, shouldn't we call her our mother? If he said, if our Father is calling her mother, shouldn't we call her mother? If he loved her, shouldn't we love her? If he respected her, shouldn't we respect her? These are very simple things. He said, Christ said, follow my example. His example is to love his mother. Shouldn't we love her? Shouldn't we respect her? It's a very simple thing. It's not even an argument. if we are honest and very open, it's not an argument, and it's not a competition with God, as many people think it is. It's not a competition. How could we not love the mother of Christ? Right? How can we not honor his own mother? Doesn't make any sense. Let's keep going. Giving a cup of cold water to one of the least of my followers. In the Ethiopian Orthodox Water Church, we have something called taska. That's not code for getting Allah and stuff. This is what's supposed to happen is, how many days are there in a month in Ethiopia? 30, except for
The last one.
that one. Which has how many?
5,
5. And then but 6 on every, no, don't do that one. No, we're not. Please. Okay, so and then 30 days, every day has like a particular saint. You guys know this, right? What day is today? No, it's not actually. Mathematically by the home. As 21 as today is, and Navi Tachik, Wednesday is? Alright? So if you guys don't know anyone, just know 21 and 24, you'll be good. No, and then like, so every day has like a saint or an angel that we commemorate, right? The reason why we do this is we remember what they did and the holy things that they did, so their name is never forgotten. And like I said, they provide an example for us, they've guided us, they protected us, so we want to remember them, right? What we do is, on these days, so the Bible explicitly says, giving a cup of cold water to one of the least of my followers, like I'm going to remember them. That's what it says, right? In Matthew chapter 10, like, jot it down. Verse 40, 40-ish, 41, 42. Somewhere around there. You gotta read. So, what we do in the Ethiopian Orthodox Water Church is, every month, usually, people choose like one of the, you can't do all the saints, because there's 30 of them, right? So, but like one saint, like maybe like, obviously, my saint is Takla Haymanot, because I was there and I have a special connection with him. So like, I think about him on that day. Other people, for me, thinking literally means thank you, for your guidance. Like, that's it. For other people, and what I should be doing is like giving a cup of cold water to the poor, literally, right? So like, choosing a saint, and then like on that day, maybe you could go and feed the hungry, or like give food. The God of that saint, like for example, I'm not gonna do it, but Wednesday, if I decided to go and feed the hungry, right? And then I say today's Takla Haymanot, they're gonna be like, oh, the God of Takla Haymanot, thank you for providing this. Who are we worshiping? God, right? And the same way, remember the great things that Takla Haymanot did, and the fact that he's a great example for us, and he's guided us, and he's protected us. At the same time, we get to worship God. So this is kind of like a practice of the Ethiopian Orthodox Water Church. We should also practice. It's very, very common in Ethiopia, very uncommon in America, right? True or false? True. But we need to, practice these type of holy traditions, if you will.
But sometimes we get confused how we worship Christ and the saints.
That's a different topic. But that's why I've been explaining it in a way that's hopefully not confusing today. Yes, that issue does exist. Like people can't separate a Lord from a saint, but we should. The saint's position is what we just talked about. They guide us, protect us, intercede for us. They're not compared with God.
Sorry, I don't mean to go off topic. When you say intercede, what does that mean? Because we say that for the Virgin Mary as well.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I was gonna try to answer that.
Okay, go for it.
So basically, like the best analogy I was told was like when you apply for college, for example, like a lot of people, they have a reference, right? Like when you can either apply straight to the college or have someone write a really good reference for you. And if that person is, of good stature and great prestige, the college will be like, oh yeah, this person said this person's good, so like, I'll take him. And like the saints are kind of like that, like our interceders, the people who refer us to God. And also a common misconception is that like we worship saints. It's actually the verb is venerate. Venerate is like how David said, like they're role models and they're examples, and we look up to them because they fulfilled the gospel that was preached in the scriptures.
Very good. And at a simpler level, we ask the intercession of everybody around us. We don't even know. Did you ever went through something and said, "Can you pray for me?" We've all said it, right? That's what intercession is. Except, let's be real. If you had like a friend who was never been to church, never really prays, whatever, and then you had like another friend who may be like a priest or something like that, you were very close to him, wouldn't you feel more comfortable to ask that priest to pray for you? Just because like you feel like you have more connection with God? Who's more closer to God than the Virgin Mary? Like nobody, right? Doesn't it make sense to be like she's our mother, so like, Mom, pray for us. Our holy like Virgin Mary, our mother, pray for us. Like I'm going through this hardship, and that's what the 2 weeks is about. That whole fasting is about that, right? So like if you see Sa'atat, I mean the wording is just amazing, and it sounds amazing, and it is amazing. The words are amazing. Come towards me with your son, right? With your son, so that he can forgive me. That's so. The whole point is not about like the Virgin Mary is the Virgin Mary because she's the mother of God. The saints are saints because they worship Him. The angels are angels because they're His servants. You see, worship means if we were just like looking at somebody and just for not anything connected with God, but just looking at them and being like this, that, and you know. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I missed the last point.
The Virgin Mary is the mother of our Father. Other questions? Yeah. Anybody?
Back to what you were saying about like the Day of the Saints and like how you're giving people, the poor people food. Does it necessarily have to be like that kind act, and do you have to give people food?
No, I mean no. Like I have to is like a weird thing, but like it's something we should be practicing.
Like we can be like a random act of kindness. Sort of.
Yeah. In their name, but like this is why people do it. You know, it's an act of righteousness. You know, it's an act of righteousness. He doesn't know what to do with that. I love that. Act of righteousness. I'm not sitting here. Other questions, comments, arguments, suggestions. Which one of these?
Comments and questions. So.
That's not a comment.
So no, honestly, about intercession and Saint Mary, I understand the concept and all that, but I'm having a hard time praying directly to her, and so how do I?
I'm not even being funny. Read Udasimaya. I mean, I think that's the best example, right? Like, read Udasimaya, and then you know exactly what it is. There's in English, there's an Amharic. That is the definition of intercession, how we should pray. The definition, right? Like, read it. I don't want to get into the specifics. You will be amazed. It's not about the Virgin Mary, you know? It is about the Lord and how, like, she was able to, like, hold him in her womb without being burned, you know? And then she gave, like, birth to God. How amazing is this? Pray for our behalf. Right? So, like, He took from you natural flesh and natural soul. And because of that, you were able to give birth. And, like, because of that, we have salvation. Thank you. Pray for our behalf. Pray for in our behalf. So, like, if you read it, and I mean not pray, but read it, like study it, there's a difference, right? Like usually, like No. I'm saying like actually understand. It is a meal. That is the definition. Other questions?
Is there in English?
Yeah. It's the daily prayer. Ethiopian Orthodox at work. The grammar, don't pay attention to it.
There's also Wudas and Mikal, right?
ውዳሴ ኢየሱስ ሰምቻለሁ መልካ
There's like a book for Mikal, just like the Wudas and Mariam.
መልካ ሚካኤል ሰምቻለሁ I don't know about ውዳሴ ሚካኤል and maybe
What does Wudas mean?
ውዳሴ like ወደስ አመሰገነ so like ማመስገን
Is it good for it to listen?
ወደሳ አመሰገነ so like ውዳሴ ምስጋና
Okay. Oh yeah, thank God, yeah.
To praise ማመስገን Other questions?